I'll tell you what. Now I'm going to go back here. In case you've just joined us, these are the greatest horror movies of all time. I'm going to go back a little ways here, and it's a little bit, I think the word's esoteric. It's a movie called When a Stranger Calls.
It was like the first horror movie ever.
It's about this babysitter.
Okay.
She's babysitting.
Number 4.
And the kid's upstairs. And the phone rings. And the babysitter's downstairs, and she answers it. And he goes, I think it's Anthony Hopkins. Have you checked the children? And she gets freaked out, and she hangs up the phone. And the guy calls back, and he goes, have you checked the children? There were 2 kids. She hangs up, and she gets all freaked out. Calls the cops, because now she's worried. The cops call back in like a minute, and they say, the call is coming from inside the house. So she went up and checked the children, and it was a bad scene. There had been some carnage. So then that guy went to jail, but then he got out. And by the time he got out, the babysitter was a grown woman who had 2 children. And I'm going to stop story because it looks like there's some news here. All right.
95.7 The Game, breaking news.
Well, Steiny, we were wondering if the San Francisco 49ers were going to make a move before the NFL trade deadline at 1 o'clock. They did. The former number 2 overall pick, Commanders defensive end Chase Young, is being traded to the 49ers, likely a mid-round pick in 2024. So Chase Young is going to join his fellow Buckeye, Nick Bosa, on the defensive line in San Francisco.
Wow. How you feeling about that if you're a Niner fan?
You got to feel great. I mean, I forget, maybe it was Goo. I forget who asked for defensive line help. But if you're looking to make everything easier on the back end of that defense, defensive line is a great place to start, and especially with the Commanders shopping Montez Sweat earlier to the Bears for a second-round pick.
Third-round pick.
It's a third-round pick for Chase Young. Okay. So the fact that Sweat goes to the Bears means that there's pretty much only a couple of edge rushers available left in the trade market, and the best one, probably Brian Burns, but second best, absolutely Chase Young. And this was a guy that also, during the summer, a lot of teams were wondering if it would take a first-round pick to get Chase Young. So the fact that the 49ers got him for a third is huge.
Yeah, I'm looking at his splits from this year. He's played, but he hasn't made a huge impact. I'm trying to think, was it Goo who said defensive end? Or might have been JD. Might have been JD.
JD, I know, has also been asking for a defensive lineman. Chase Young, so the thing about him is he hasn't really been on the field a whole lot after his rookie season. So he was Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then I think it was that second season where he had kind of hampering injuries. And then the next year, during that 2021 year, he tore his ACL. So he missed most of 21 and most of 22. So this is the first year beyond his rookie season where ideally he's supposed to be healthy. He's played in every single game this far. So the question is, are you getting, former number 2 overall top-end first-round talent Chase Young, or are you getting a guy that hasn't been able to stay on the field? So basically you took 2 swings at high-ceiling, low-floor defensive linemen in Randy Gregory, who they brought in earlier for basically beans, and then Chase Young now, who I think is, for a third-round pick, that's pretty good. And you get to bolster your defensive line, a place that I think everyone has identified as the spot that needs a lot of help.
Yes, everyone's identified the defensive line as a spot where they need help. Why? That should be the spot they didn't need help or they don't need help. By the way, I think most of you know, and I try to downplay this, but most of you now know that I'm having a great year.
Yeah.
You ready for this one?
Okay.
I'm going to do it right now. Niners aren't done. They're not done. They're going to make another move before 1 o'clock. Put it in the cap, and it'll probably be for a defensive secondary guy.
Jalen Johnson?
Well, we'll see. Of course, the Bears looking to move him.
They might want a second rounder.
I think they're not done.
But if you're the 49ers, so last year they go out and they get Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
I think that's a much bigger splash than this move. It doesn't mean it's insignificant, though, because also the 49ers have, because of the compensatory picks that have flowed in over the last few years from the hirings of Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, Rand Carthan, and other executives, basically they replenish their third-round picks ad nauseum, or have over the last few years. So we may be looking back on this pick that goes to Washington and basically saying the 49ers didn't give up anything for Chase Young. They're basically just going to have to pay him.
Correct.
That's the biggest risk at this point. But if you're taking a one-year flyer on a guy you think can help get you back to where you need to be, and the reason why I do think it is important to the defensive line, like, yes, they have a ton of talent up front. They don't need quote-unquote help. They need to play better. But I don't know how much in addition to the secondary moves the needle. Like, there's no shutdown Darrelle Revis island corner out there that's good enough to make up for their lack of ability to cover someone in the slot or on the outside. So what's the best way to overcome that is to get to the quarterback, and you add a guy that can do that.
Is this a Brian Windhorst trade or acquisition?
You mean what's going on in San Francisco?
No, I mean, are we working on a checkbook championship for the Niners?
Oh, boy.
A checkbook championship?
Actually, no, I apologize. There is a cornerback out there. Thank you, Xavier, on our YouTube chat, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Patrick Surtain. That would be a top-flight guy. Probably pretty expensive, though.
Let's go to Robin. Robin's in San Francisco. Hey, Robin, how are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, you guys. I haven't called in. I've been asleep. Listen, I know a lot, but I don't know everything, so I could be wrong here. But, I want you to stop. I was asking, how does, these players on the defensive line, how do they diminish from what they were last year to now, basically? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same players, and I don't get it. I just don't. And everybody, I don't like to play the blame game, so I'm not going to blame it all on the defensive coordinator. But there has got to be something there, stylistically, because when you have something that has pretty much been a model from season, I look at consistency from season to season, and all of a sudden what you have is not working, then you got to look at somebody.
Right.
The coach, the defensive coordinator. Okay, now here's the other thing. I don't know if I agree with Shanahan's philosophical approach, because he builds team inside out. Why? You need to look at that O-line. We need a right guard, which ain't nobody going to give us, okay? Because they're basically rookies. I mean, that's what a quarterback needs, right? And then that's why I talk about that secondary. All three of them need to go. A Funga, a Ward, and they all suck donkey balls. Peace out, guys.
Thank you, Robin. I'm glad you said goodbye. Your phone was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough.
You hate to see it. Oh, by the way, don't forget Mike McDaniels. Compensatory.
Okay.
What? No,
he is. You're right. Yeah.
No, it's from Zuki, Maine.
It's true. Minority coach. No doubt. Allegedly.
How does Robin get on every show? 925. She calls.
Oh,
and we take
if you heard her, she was
her
asleep.
call.
So she couldn't have been on the morning show. But so this move for the 49ers also aligns with the Gregory trade, which is a chance to swing and potentially hit big on a guy with a lot of talent, but has had his production and games played slowed by injury. So Montez Sweat, along with Jonathan Allen and the rest of those big boys up front for Washington, have been more productive than Chase Young in recent memory. But Chase Young, in my opinion, is undoubtedly the guy with the higher ceiling, that has the most talent of that group. But you had to get a little more expensive for Montez Sweat because he's been on the field, whereas Chase Young, if you get him for a third-round pick, I think that's a great value and a move by John Lynch in that front office for the 49ers, because you already I think they're in a position where they believe their D-line can play better, that even if they didn't make a move at the deadline, they could get better internally, because that's what we heard from Kyle Shanahan after the loss this weekend. But if you get a chance to add Chase Young, you get deeper. And with Gregory, it's kind of like what the Eagles did last year, and a big reason that front was so good is because they could rotate guys in repeatedly, And what did they do last year at the deadline? They added Ndamukong Suh. They added Linval Joseph. They added productive players that maybe were in positions where they were playing too much, where they're still productive. But if you get them on a lower snap count, you can let Chase Young pin his ears back. I think playing with Nick Bosa, a former teammate of his in college, I think that will help him as well. Like this is an opportunistic play by the 49ers that is not going to hurt them as much as it could improve them. And that's why I think it's a great deal.
Well, and if he makes any kind of impact, it probably will help the secondary a little bit, you would think, with the pass rush. Scott's in Monterey wants to talk about the deal. In case you're just joining us, San Francisco 49ers have acquired Chase Young from Washington for a third-round pick, defensive end Chase Young. What's going on, Scott? How are you?
Hey, happy Halloween, gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty scary October for 49ers fans.
It's a 3.
Good call.
But great way to end the month here. Seal it with 2 Buckeye bookends. And I'm excited. I think that's an awesome move. You can obviously see that the defense has been pretty deflated these last 3 games. We've been getting punched in the mouth, and we just haven't been able to get off the field on third downs. And so I think this definitely brings some newfound energy to the team coming off when we get off the bye. And I'm excited. I think, especially on the opposite side of Bosa, we really haven't been able to generate much pass rush. We only have 1.5 sacks after Dre Jackson had the 3 against the Steelers, but we really haven't been able to generate the pass rush. Randy Gregory's been able to get in there. But, with Randy Gregory, I think the issue with him is he can't really set the edge like Chase Young can on that opposite side. And that's a huge deal. So we'd be able to have Chase Young in there all 3 downs and be able to supplement Randy Gregory, just to get a healthier rotation of pass rushers out there onto that D-line, which is what this team really identifies with, is having that depth. And so anyway, I think this is a fantastic move. Props to John Lynch in the front office. I mean, McCaffrey last year, Chase Young this year. They're just blowing it out of the water. So I'm super excited. Happy Halloween, guys. Stay safe.
Thanks. That's Scott in Monterey. 408, skeptic. Look into it and let us know what Chase Young does well, besides being injured.
Well, unlike Randy Gregory, to Scott's point, he plays the run better than the pass. Now, he can still get in the backfield, but he's 6'5", 265. Gregory's 6'5", 240. Gregory's more of a speed rusher and like a traditional guy that can just go after the quarterback. But what have we talked about the last few weeks? Yes, they've been diced up by Joe Burrow. They've been diced up by Kirk Cousins, RIP to him. But they haven't been able to stop the run.
Right.
And that is a huge part of this, too, because if you are not allowing a 4 or 5 yard gain on first down, then you can be in a more traditional pass scenario where your guys can get after the quarterback and I think can do what they've needed to do, or what they did the first 5 weeks as opposed to the last 3. So if they can use Chase Young to help deter some of these running attacks, which they'll inevitably face better ones. Like, I think the Bengals have a decent running game. Mixon's solid. The Vikings ain't a great running team. The Browns are missing Nick Chubb. But when you get to the Seahawks, who can run the ball with Kenneth Walker, when you get to the Eagles, who, of course, can run the ball with a trio of guys in the backfield, like, you are going to need to be, you're going to have more beef up front, and Chase Young absolutely provides that.
888-957-9570 is the number. 49ers make a move. Defensive end Chase Young from Washington has been acquired for a third-round pick. And we'll see if the 49ers do anything else. There's 70 minutes till the trade deadline expires, but the 49ers make a move. And we'll be talking about it the rest of the day.